Hi everybody, welcome back to another cooking video. This one is going to be the conclusion to my tamale series, which have a big gap in time. I'm sorry it's taking me so long to get this one up. This is going to be the assembly and cooking process for tamales. And we're going to be covering soaking the corn husks, making the masa, spreading the masa, filling the tamales, loading the pot, and cooking them. So here we go. This first part is going to be soaking the corn husks, and I just like to do this in my sink. I have separated the corn husks just slightly so that the water is better able to cover them on all sides. I'm going to place a cutting board that fits into my sink, and that's just to have a wide surface to help hold the tamales down, the husks down into the water. And I'm also going to use I think it's a 3-quart pot, and I'm going to fill it with water and put it on top of the cutting board just to act as a weight. So what that's going to do is allow the water to cover the husks on all sides, because they do have a tendency to float. And so if they're floating, you constantly have to be coming back in, checking, turning them over. And doing it this way, you might only have to check them and flip them once. And it is recommended that you soak them for at least 8 hours or overnight if you can. If you can't, then I recommend using hot water and soaking for at least 2 to 3 hours. Okay, now we're making the masa. And in this stand mixer, I have 2 cups of lard or manteca. And I have broth. This is 1 cup of warm broth, and it's going to help the manteca melt. You want to be careful with this part because it can tend to splash just a little bit, so you just want to be careful. Okay, we're just going to get this mixing. As you can see, it splashed right there, so I'm going to clean that up. You don't have to melt the manteca. This just, in my opinion, kind of helps it to incorporate evenly with the masa. But it's fine if you don't want to do that part. Okay, and then next, I'm going to be adding in the corn flour. And for 2 cups of manteca, I usually use 5 cups. So first you want to put in about a teaspoon of salt. That is 1 tablespoon of baking powder. You can also use other seasonings. If you don't, I'm going to be coloring and flavoring my masa with a red chili sauce. If you're not going to do that, you can add powdered seasonings such as chili powder, comino, pepper, salt, garlic powder, onion powder, whatever you'd like. Even dried oregano. So there I am mixing, I mixed 5 cups of the maseca corn flour in there, and you can use any kind. I usually like to use the one for tamales, but I didn't have it today. That was just 1 ladle full of the red chili sauce. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. And I'm going to just mix this in. Now the masa at this point is still slightly thick, and the reason for that is because I am using a red chili sauce. It adds moisture. It's you don't have to make it that thick at this point if you're using powdered seasonings, but because I'm using a wet seasoning, I want to make sure that I have it the right color before I add more broth to make it the right texture. And once I have the color that I want, I'm just going to start slowly adding in more broth. And you do want to mix this on slow because it will have a tendency to kind of slosh around. And add it in a little bit at a time. And the texture that you're going to be looking for is just very spreadable, where you can pinch it in your fingers. And when you rub your fingers, it moves very easily to slide and spread. Okay, here I am going to be filling the tamales, and these are the soaked corn husks. You need to dry them fully with some kind of towel first. And I am using a bench scraper. This tool is usually used for baking and pastry, and it's used to like cut dough and things. I find that this one cuts time for me a lot. I usually will spread the masa by hand with a spoon and use the back of the spoon, but when I'm making a lot and I'm making them alone, if it's not like a tamale party that a lot of the Hispanic cultures tend to have, I find that this just helps me speed along. And the scraper actually helps you scrape up everything that gets onto your cutting board. This is a cutting board that I'm using. You can just scrape it back up and put it back in the pan. So here I'm probably putting about a full tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of meat. There's another video that I have making that meat as well, if you want to go look at it. And then you just want to fold everything over kind of in thirds. And then you're going to pinch at the top and fold it down. And then I like to pinch the bottom closed. And from there, they're going into my pot that's off to the side. I'll show you how I layer the tamales in later on in the video. Okay, so there I'm just cleaning up my board and pulling some more masa to the front to get ready for the next tamale. And I'm going to show you guys one more time how to fill it. Okay, once again, and you do want the masa on, if you use a bench scraper, coating a layer on from one side to the next, left to right, so that it can get coated on the husk completely from side to side. And if you miss pieces, you can always go back over, add a little bit more. So I've missed some at the bottom there. And the bench scraper it works so well to just scrape everything back up. So here I'm just fixing that bottom piece. And cleaning up the mess. Okay, and again we're going to fill with about 1 to 2 tablespoons of a filling. This filling is pork and red chili, but you can use whatever you'd like. You can use a chicken and greens chili sauce, and even a combination of like jalapenos and cheese, beans, anything you'd like. And their meat was kind of sticking up, so I just pushed it back down, closed the seam, and put it into my pot. Okay, so next we are going to load the pot. I use a small metal colander or a strainer, and I put it in my tamale pot upside down. And that to me allows the steam to come up through the center of the tamales, allowing it to cook more evenly. So now we are going to add the water to the pot. And you can do like I'm doing here and pour it in the center, but you can risk getting some water into the open-ended part of the tamales. So if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to take any chances, just pour the water in against the side of the pot. It will flow along the closed back of the tamales, so you won't get water on the inside at all. Once your pot is full of water, you're going to use some scrap pieces of the husks and just make kind of a lid in the inside of the pot. I also like to use a kitchen towel. Once you have that in place, you're going to cover with your pot lid and allow this to steam on medium to low heat for about 2 hours. Once that time has passed, you want to test your tamales by trying to separate the husk from the cooked masa. If it separates easily and the masa, when you fill it, is firm, then your tamales are done. If you notice a pale part of the masa and you can pinch it and smear it, then your tamales need more steaming time. Once they're cooked, you want to remove the lid, but leave the towel and the husks in place and cool for 15 minutes. Make sure that the heat is off during this time. Once that time passes, remove the tamales from a pot, put them in some kind of a tray, and just allow them to sit for 15 to 30 minutes. They're going to need that time to firm up. So here's the tamale in the husk. There's it unwrapped. And here's a little video showing you how the masa is firmed up and shaped. And these came out very good. I really liked these. These are smoother textured masa because of the corn flour that I used. If you want a texture, more of a texture of the coarser variety, then you would use a tamale corn flour. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and I will have more videos coming up shortly. Thanks for watching.